Uh, wow, I don't really know where to start with this. I haven't really ever experienced anything like this, but I feel like I just need to let people know. Let's start with the formalities, just in case, something happens. Yeah, it's that kind of story. Uh, my name's Terrence. Terrence Freeman. No, not the son of Morgan Freeman, but I wish. I'm 19 years old and I'm an engineering student. It's fun, I guess. Long lectures. I finished one at about 8 p.m. and it was a cold winter night and I had to walk back home. I wasn't worried as I know the route back like the back of my hand and I've done it so many times that it just became secondhand to me. And I know for a fact that the shortest way back home is through a wooded area. It's always a lot more peaceful and quiet, and the crime rate is relatively low, so I never gave it a second thought, and I began my walk as normal through the forested area. In the place I'm in, the pollution is very low, so one of the benefits of that is that the night sky always looks gorgeous. The stars, the glistening moonlight, everything was just beautiful. The silence of the night was then broken, not by a sound, but by a horrific smell. I remember it distinctly. It filled my nose like an unsuspecting invader, and it nearly made me sick. Disorientated, I tried to find the source of the smell. I had to stray off the normal path away from the lamppost that partially illuminated the forest track. I used my flashlight on my phone to try and lead me to the source of the smell, and what I found, I just... I really wish my curiosity didn't get the best of me. After a minute of following the smell, I noticed how apparent the darkness was of the night, not helped by the trees covering any of the light provided by the moon. The smell at this point was blinding, and the sound of what seemed to be millions of flies was deafening. I hesitated to shine my flashlight in that direction, but I persisted and... It was horrible. A corpse of what seemed to be a cow was lying there in the grass. It must have been there for a while as the smell was abhorrent, and the flies were swarming around the putrid sight. What's worse is that when examining the poor animal, I noticed that it had clear cuts around its neck, eyes, and stomach. As if someone was doing this purposefully. I stepped back in disgust and fear, but as I did, I raised my flashlights and I saw several more carcasses, all with different mutilations affecting them. Some of them with their entrails laying beside them, as if they were removed and placed there for someone to hideously admire their work. It was a horrific sight. I decided to run back to the path and continue my walk at a steady pace. I will disclose that I did attempt to call the police, but the signal was awful and my phone was already close to having no battery, so I hastily moved back onto the path and continued walking at a steady pace. Just when I thought things couldn't get any stranger, that's when I saw her. Standing in the middle of the pathway was a little girl. She couldn't have looked older than about 5 or 6. She was holding a teddy bear, and she was standing directly underneath one of the lampposts, looking around as if she was lost. With some possible psychopath hunting and slaughtering animals running around, I decided that I should at least guide her to somewhere safe. I approached her cautiously, her back facing me. I didn't want to scare her, so I called out to her quietly. "Hey, are you okay, sweetheart? Are you lost?" I said, crouching behind her. She didn't reply, and she didn't even acknowledge my presence, which I dialed down to her probably just being in shock. Who knows how long she's been missing and what she's seen in this park. I decided to try and speak to her again. Do you have a home? Or a safe place that I can take you? Again, she didn't respond for a few seconds until I heard her say something. I couldn't hear what she said. I leaned closer. What did you say, honey? What she said sent shivers up my spine. I quickly spun around. Nothing was there. I composed myself to turn her back around to the girl, and she was gone. I frantically looked around to see where she was, and there I saw her. She was darting into the trees, dropping her teddy behind her. Wait! It's not safe out there! I screamed to her, losing sight of her in the bushes. I didn't want this little girl to be hurt or worse, so I followed behind her, running as fast as I could, picking up the teddy bear and putting it underneath my arm. I ran in the direction that I saw her last. I remember hearing her voice saying, "Run, run," and I did. I tried to follow her voice and the sounds of the running. I saw some streetlights and cars in the distance, and that's where her voice was coming from. So I sprinted as fast as I could, and I broke out of the tree line to see my home. My street, my front garden. I must have ran all the way home. Fearing the worst for the little girl, I quickly ran inside and put the teddy bear on the sofa. I went into the kitchen to dial for the police when the TV suddenly switched on, completely by itself. It was a news report. Police in the local area had apprehended a man who was killing escaped local farm animals in the nearby woodland park. Animals weren't the only thing he killed. A family of 3. A husband. A wife. And a young daughter were all brutally murdered. The crazed killer was found waiting along the footpath for more victims to fall into his grasp. The little girl's description was vague, but police found a blood-soaked teddy bear on the scene. I turned my attention to the sofa to see the teddy bear was no longer there. That little girl, her ghost, she was protecting me. If I hadn't tried to find her, straying off the path, then I would have been another victim of that psychopath. I just wish she was here, so I could thank her for saving my life. If you can hear this, wherever you are, know that I'm grateful. Thank you.